October 14, 2018. Pavement and Mangoes. Reverend Dr. Janet Kingsley. Given at Unity of Payson, Arizona.
So Unlimited God in Me, I shared this story with John and Hummingbird. So before I even get started, as I'm doing Unlimited God in Me, sometimes if we really knew about Unlimited God in me, in us, all of our disappointments, all of these little challenges, these hiccups in life, they would be like nothing, wouldn't they? Because there's something so much more going on. So, I love shoes, and people that know me, and they send birthday presents, and a lot of them have to do with shoes. Do you need another pair? And sometimes I'll have jokes. So I have this pair of shoes on that are to me ho-hum. Well, yesterday when I was getting my outfit together, I have 3 pair of red shoes. So I selected, and I have a shoe tree. I'm very organized. Virgo, right? I better check the time because this is outside of my talk. But anyway, so I took this red pair, and I took this right foot, and I took this red pair, left foot, and I was wearing this outfit, and I looked in the mirror, and I said, oh, I like this patent leather pair with the bow. Okay, so the left shoe goes back. This right one I just threw in my closet. So as I'm getting ready to pack, I take the one shoe, and then, there's a match, so it's a shoe tree. So the shoe was gone, so I just grabbed the one right next to it. Well, it was the other pair of red shoes, because I keep red together. So I have 2 right red shoes. and no knee highs. But anyway, luckily whatever I was wearing semi-matched. And nobody cares, but this would be like a hiccup. Like I didn't get real cranky, but there was this disappointment. Because, I don't get to wear these cute red shoes all the time. I don't even have to have 3 pairs of red shoes. I don't have that many red outfits. Like, what am I thinking? But in any case, if we knew that Unlimited God is within us, this is a no thing. And it kind of is a no thing, but clearly not such a no thing because I'm hanging on to it. Okay, let's get started. Okay. There was once a rich man, and he was near death. And he was on his deathbed, and, he really identified himself with his richness. And he's praying. He wants to take some of his wealth with him into heaven, because he knows he's going to go to heaven. So he's praying for this wealth to come with him, and an angel shows up. And an angel says to him, well, you can't take this with you when you go to heaven. When you're dead, you just can't take it with you. But the man implores the angel, please, can you intercede on my behalf and just ask God, maybe for an exception. So the angel goes off, and the guy continues to pray, that he could take his wealth with him. So the angel shows up again and says, guess what? God said that you could take 1 suitcase with you when you come into heaven. The guy is ecstatic, and he takes out his biggest suitcase that he has and fills it with gold bars and zips it up. Well, not too long after that, he passes away. He's now in heaven. He meets up with St. Peter with a suitcase. And St. Peter says, you can't bring a suitcase into heaven. And the guy explains to him, you know what? I got special permission from God, and maybe you could go check with God and, make sure that everything is good. So St. Peter does that, and sure enough comes back and says, okay, God said, yeah, you could take 1 suitcase, but I have to check in it, kind of like the TSA agent. I have to check and see what's in here. So as St. Peter opens up the suitcase to see what this guy felt was so important, so worthwhile, that he couldn't leave it with him, he opens up the suitcase and he says, you brought pavement? That's part 1 for my talk. Okay. Prosperity Month. I love talking about prosperity. As a matter of fact, I might still have it, not working, but I used to have a website called prosperitydoctor.com. And we know, and just what Gaia had said earlier, prosperity is more than money. A lot of times we'll think about money, but involves every aspect of our lives. And two of my favorite definitions is the ability to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and in the style you want to do it with, and as I have said, with, I'm going to add, and with whom you want to do it. The ability, that means what? You have to be healthy. You have to have money. You have to have relationships. You have to have time. You have to be able to be aware of all the things that you want to do. And then, of course, my favorite from Edwin Gaines is, I better read it, a vitally alive physical body to provide a comfortable worldly home for the spiritual beings that we are. Health, invigorated, lively, exuberant, dynamic health, right? Relationships that are satisfying, nurturing, honest, and work all the time. Work that we love so much it's not work, but it's play. And all the money that we can spend. So again, what do these have in common? Not only do they have our whole beingness in common. You know, that we could have a lot of money, but if we're too sick to enjoy it, we're not feeling prosperous. Or maybe we have all the friends in the world and we're feeling that way, but we don't have any money to go to the movies with them. So prosperity involves all of us, and even our whole beingness. And even more than that, it requires not only that we're in the flow, but that we become the flow, that we are the flow. And what can hinder us from being in the flow of God's great good, of this unlimited God in me, is those limited beliefs. Those ideas that we might take with us that define our sense of self-worth, that define who we are. So our opening man on his deathbed was very much identified with his wealth. That without his wealth, he might not think very much of himself, that he is important because of his wealth. Some of us might define ourselves, and any way that we're going to define ourselves is going to be limiting the unlimited, right? But when we're out of the flow of life, when we're out of the flow of abundance, when we're out of the flow of prosperity, you can bet it's because we have a limiting belief of some kind. A limiting belief, sometimes it has to do with our self-worth, and we could be in bondage to these ideas. So Dr. David Walker wrote this in a book called You Are Enough. He says, you're not worthwhile because you have fulfilled your dreams. You're worthwhile because you exist. You're not enough because you have a good job. You're enough even if you haven't worked in 13 years. Now, if you haven't worked in 14 years, that's a problem. 13 years, that's good. You're not enough because you're loved by many people. You're enough even if nobody knows your name. You're not enough because your financial portfolio is enviable. You're enough even if you're dead broke. And becoming more successful doesn't make you enough either. It only changes your experience. It doesn't change you. We are enough because that unlimited God that we can't even imagine because it's unlimited and we're trying to imagine it with a limited mindset, but we are enough simply because of who we are. As I like to say, there's only one thing. That one thing is God. That one thing is wholeness and perfection and harmony and vitality and aliveness and excitement and great relationships and healthy bodies. That one thing is who we are. And it doesn't get any better than this. We can't add, we can't add a cubit to our stature. There's nothing we can do, and there's nothing we can't do that is going to add to us. We are already it. We are more than we know we are. So our challenge is to invest or reinvest in ourselves every single day. To reinvest. Every day we wake up and the universe has invested with us 86,400 seconds. We pop our eyes open and it's a clean slate. And at the end of the day, the next morning we wake up, it happens again and again and again. And we don't get to save these 86,000 they're not like sick days. They don't accrue. That if we don't use them wisely today, it's okay because tomorrow we'll have more. Doesn't work like that. We know it doesn't work like that. So every day we want to make an investment or a reinvestment, because it's every day, in ourselves. A reinvestment in those ideas that are going to help remind us not to be so attached to those gold bars, not to identify our self-worth with who we are, what kind of house we live in, what the neighborhood is, what kind of car we drive, what kind of shoes we have, right? How many friends we have. You know, we want to invest in ideas that are going to get us and keep us in that flow to remembering that unlimited God is who we are. Those ideas that are life-affirming, expansive, that we want to invest in ideas that are going to uplift us and inspire us, ideas that are going to help us maximize our talents or even utilize, maybe even find out what our talents and gifts are and go for it. Because the universe invests heavily in us because we are it. There's nothing else. So are we using our 86,400 seconds wisely? Are we investing? Or are we hoarding? Are we circulating? Or are we withholding? And when we find ourselves with a lack of abundance or a lack of prosperity in any area of our life, if we were really going to do an examination, you can rest assured it's because we're not circulating. It's because we're not in the flow. It's because we're hoarding something. Because we have adopted some kind of a limited mindset that we're not good enough, something's wrong with us, we're comparing ourselves, we're not reinvesting. You know, every time we compare, let's say it takes 5 minutes. Oh, if only I had what they had. Oh, whatever. Maybe you guys don't do that, but you know, that's 5 minutes that we're forgetting who we are. That's 5 minutes that we've kind of taken out of our account instead of putting in. So do you guys remember? Some of you, I'm sure, will. Remember blue chip stamps?
Yep.
I remember them too. And so, for those of you who don't remember, there were stamps just like this. Blue. I like the blue ones especially because there were more of them. Anyway, merchants would give out for purchases. Merchants would give these out, and you'd collect them and put them in a book. And then you could redeem these stamps for something of value or what you thought was valuable. I can remember saving books, and you know, in those days, they wouldn't sell stick. You know, you had to lick them. And I collected books and books and books and took them to the Blue Chip Redemption Center. I got a whole 8-piece dish set. Dish set for 8. I mean, it was exciting. It was thrilling. I was trading in these things that I had collected for something of value, which of course we think is free, but you know, I probably spent thousands of dollars. $40 dish set, right? We're so funny. But anyway, sometimes our ideas are like these blue chip stamps or these green stamps. We're collecting them. We're collecting them and we're saving them for something in the future that we think that's going to be something of value. The problem is sometimes these ideas and opinions are not necessarily, they're not serving us. They're not serving us. So for example, some people might think that if they have a good life here on earth, then they're going to go to heaven. I mean, that could serve you. It helps you get a good life. But in the meantime, maybe they're not living, they're not doing their passion because they might think that their passion is not in alignment with something that far off in the future, then they wouldn't get it. Some people say no to money because they don't want to have anything to do with something evil. Right? And so some people think that self-sacrifice is the way to prosperity. So they're saying no. Some of us learned as little kids that if we were polite and agreeable, we'd get some treats and some goodies, right? So that we had to be good, mostly girls, I think, but good girls and boys. And then, you know, the parents would dole out some goodies for that. And we might still be living on these ideas. So instead of speaking our truth, we're more likely to keep shut and be agreeable because we're not consciously thinking, oh, if I keep my mouth shut, something good is going to happen. No, but it's this these stamps that we've collected that says agreeable wins the game. Agreeable and not don't be a boat rocker gets the goodies. And we all want goodies, right? And so we don't want, so sometimes we're not expressing that unlimited God in us because we have a point of view, because we have collected some stamps, some limited ideas that are in our stamp book that we think we're going to be able to trade in for something good down the way. So, but any of these things that we're doing are denying the truth of who we are. So I said it a million times. Only one thing, that one thing is God. The truth of who we are is that we are the divine in action. Right? We know that. So we know, I mean, it's hard. We know that intellectually. How do we live that? I don't have those answers today. That's next time. I'll have to get invited back. But you know, it's easy for us to get sidetracked. We have a million ideas about, and for me, over and over and over. So I do coaching, right? And then, I mean, it's like I get a lot of blogs. So, and it's about productivity and how to be successful and productivity. So, and I'm trying to do these things. And then I have to think, you know what? I am adopting their idea of success, which is very external focused. But could I be considered a success if I don't get upset when my shoes are not right? Right? Could I be considered a success if I have peace of mind? Could I be considered a success when I'm evolving and growing? Does success always, you know, who defined my idea or yours? Who defined that idea of prosperity? Who defined my idea? Because chances are it wasn't me, of what prosperity looks like in my life. And as long as I'm using that idea, then I'm not living my truth. It's somebody else's truth. Because so much of, like 92.553% of our life, maybe it's even more, we're living internally, right? It's an inside job. The stuff that we see is really a small part of what it is that we're experiencing. But we try to fix everything out here. Oh, if I just look better, for me, if I just have the perfect shoes to match that outfit, then people will say, oh, that Janet has it down. Look at those shoes. Nobody but me, I'm sure, notices the shoes, unless you're a shoe pro. But you know, we're funny like that, right? If I just have this thing, if I just do that, if I can just make it this way, then. But what is this then? We're really assessing our life by what we think, some external judgment going on. And that's because we've adopted some blue chip stamps from our folks, who's adopted it from their folks, or even from the media or wherever. So sometimes it has to do with our self-worth. So sometimes our self-worth is like a coupon book, right? That we have filled with beliefs about who we are, and what it is that we need to do to get good, to get some sort of good. Could be financial good, could be relationship good, it could be work good, or creativity, it could be health good, right? What are we going to do? Sometimes okay. So we want to ask ourselves, do we really want to collect these ideas? Do we really want to collect the ideas that we've been collecting? Or do we want to take a stand and live from our own center, from our own place of authenticity, of integrity, of our own unlimited God that is speaking through us, as us, and for us? Or do we want to continue to recycle some of our ideas that they're so, we don't even want to think about them, they're so automatic, right? What do we want to do? We want to reinvest in those ideas that are going to maximize, take this idea on and put that in your coupon book, right? That are going to maximize our awesomeness, that are going to maximize the truth, and we all know what the truth is for each one of us. But the ultimate truth, I would say, is God, there's a power for good in the universe, greater than we are, and not only are we using it, it is us, unlimited God in me, God the good. However it is that you want to call it. And if God isn't your word, forget it. It's an idea, a limiting idea. But whatever, you want to use spirit, energy, divine mind, doesn't matter. God doesn't care what we call it, because it's like almost a no thing. It's an everything, right? So we want to reinvest in those ideas. And if we're holding back, if we're reinvest. But if we are playing it safe, if we're hiding out under the covers, worried because we've got these limited ideas, we're collecting these stamps, we're not living our truth. We're not living our truth. We're playing small, we're playing it safe, we're not being bold, outrageous, or authentic. We're not being who we are. We're not expressing that unlimited God in us. And when we're doing that, what are we doing? We're not in the flow. And we can bet that when we're hiding under those covers, prosperity is going to, in one area of our lives, if not more, prosperity is going to come to a halt. And we're going to feel it in some way. And then we're going to, what? Right? What happened? What happened? So here's what I say. Holding back is molding lack. and it's scary. I mean, I'm going to say it, reinvest. And then, there's no guarantees. We could lose. We could throw all of our love at somebody and they don't return it. Our hearts get broken. But we don't have any less love, right? We can invest in an idea that we think is phenomenal and doesn't return dividends with money. But in the meantime, we were in it. We're not any more less depleted. But if we have a belief that this is the money pie and this is our piece, and if we have a little bit more, somebody has less. So if that's our blue chip stamp, that's our gold bar mentality, then guess what happens? We're going to feel bad because now we've taken somebody else's little piece. Or, we don't want to maximize, we don't want to, because we got a lot of life left, and if I use my whole piece now, what's going to happen tomorrow? When we're in that kind of restriction, we are impeding the flow. We are not living a prosperous life. So we need to reinvest in those ideas over and over. I want to tell a story about Krishna. So Krishna says to his people, he says, oh, I have a gift for you. It's the gift of immortality. Won't you please reach out your hands and take it? And they say, oh, we'd love to take it, Lord, but our hands are so full of these juicy, sweet mangoes. And Krishna says, well, let go of your mangoes and your hands will be free to take my gift. And they said, but Lord, we love our mangoes. Why don't you give us your gift first? And then we promise we'll let go of the mangoes. Right? This is the mango part of my story. So, we know it doesn't work like that. But for so many of us, we are holding on. So when we want to step into the greater, we have to let go of the lesser. We know that in our brains, but by the time it gets to our bodies, fear sets in. What if? We forget unlimited God is who we are. We forget, and we're judging by the external. And we forget. So at the infinite, the universe has said, I have these gifts for you. The gift of joy and the gift of forgiveness and the gift of passion and the gift of happiness and the gift of vitality and health and the gift of such phenomenal relationships. You will be walking on water. You'll be so excited. And the gift of financial freedom and the gift of humor. I've got all these gifts for you. And you say, oh, those sound so good. I really want them, but God, I can't let go of this anger. I can't let go of this resentment. I can't let go of this guilt and this shame. They're who I am. Who will I be without it? How can I keep my righteous indignation if I let go of it and keep and open up? What are people going to think? How am I going to behave? Who am I going to be? And God's saying, you're going to be the unlimited, as you already are, the unlimited, unlimited God in you. You're going to be all that you were created to be. And then we say, well, just give it to us first. Just give me that peace of mind divine first, then I promise I'll let go of my resentment. Give me promises of financial security, then I'll give my Paisley amount to the church. Right? Then I'll save for the rainy day. We know it doesn't work that way, but we get in our own way because we're collecting these limiting stamps. So we don't want to hang on to those. Well, we do want to hang on to the mangoes. Reinvesting in those ideas that are the truth ideas that help us let go of the limiting ideas. We can't move into the greater when we're holding on to the lesser. So Charles Fillmore says this: man cannot thwart the divine plan, but by virtue of his own creative or formative power, he can turn his part of the work in that plan out of its true course and impede the consummation of it. So what in the heck does that mean? Okay. It's like I read this and like, what? Again, what? The divine plan is one of wholeness and freedom. We can't thwart it. God is God. The infinite is the infinite. Energy is energy. Divine mind is divine mind. There is a wholeness, a perfection, a flow. We can't stop the planets from going around. We can't impede gravity. There is a divine plan of wholeness, of goodness, of expansiveness, of evolution, of expression, of being more, of that givingness of life to itself. That is the divine plan. We can't stop it. But here's what we can do. We can use our mind and our ideas, our opinions, our judgments, our limiting beliefs, our green stamps and blue chip stamps. We can collect them up the wazoo, and it looks like we're thwarting the divine plan. But what we're doing is that we are disturbing our experience of the divine plan of wholeness, of expansiveness, of all that good stuff, because we're stuck in our limitation of it. So then we think, well, what's all this about? It's about us, because we put it out of its truth. We impeded it. We're so powerful. We are so powerful, we can impede the power of the divine. How do you like that? There's nothing else. Okay, I better hurry up. But this is more good pictures. What do you think about when you think about a bounty hunter? Or, right? Maybe you are this. To me, I think like a Clint Eastwood type, all tattooed up, a loner, or maybe Dog the Bounty Hunter, right? So, and we don't want to be a bounty hunter, right? But here, Max Lucado, he writes this. I don't have this written. He says, living in the crosshairs of a hitman is no treat. I should know. I had one after me for 3 months. He wasn't a mafia member, nor was he a gang member. He didn't carry a gun with a scope. His weapons were even deadlier. He had a phone number, and a commission. Track me down and make me pay. His job, collect past due payments for a credit card company. A good day for him means a bad day for everyone he contacts. Don't get me wrong, I understand why such an occupation is necessary. I just wonder, what kind of person would want such a job? Who wants to be a missionary of misery? And then what do the wives say when he goes out for work? Make him sweat, honey. Make him squirm. Come back and tell me all about it. Or maybe they have plaques on the wall. Blood out of a turnip award. Right? And so, who would want to be a bounty hunter? Who wants to be a debt collector? Who want to make them squirm? But yet, a lot of times, another way we're out of the flow, another way we need to reinvest, another way we're collecting stamps, is that we have a list of people that owe us something. Could be a spouse, children, your work, previous relationships, right? Your parents owed you, people that owe you an apology, people that have done you wrong, you're waiting to collect, what's due to you. So your parents could have been more supportive or encouraging. Your early teachers could have given you some more compliments. Your spouse could be also more supportive or understanding. Sometimes even with our ministers, they could be a little bit more compassionate. We have a lot of things in our head that are limiting beliefs that keep us out of the flow of prosperity. And in our own way, we are a bounty hunter. We are a debt collector. When we are living with that kind of mentality, with those kinds of ideas at all, what are we doing? Again, we're out of the flow. We are not investing that 86,400 seconds wisely. We're investing them in small-mindedness, in pettiness. Those are our mangoes, right? When the universe is saying, forgive, forgive. They're doing, whatever we want to say. No, but you don't understand how they damaged me. You don't understand the scars that I'm carrying around. I can't enter into any kind of loving relationships because my father lied to me. Because I didn't have good role models. Because. So what are we investing? We're forgetting completely that unlimited God, that the divine is who we are. And we're waiting to collect a debt, right? We have them in the crosshairs or blue chip stamps. So as you could see, I have 4 stories. They all are saying the same things. But maybe, clearly, I like the blue chip stamp one because I keep on referring you to it. So we're not investing. We're not investing in the truth. Or not reinvesting in the truth of who we are. That 100% we are the divine in action. We are it and more than it. We are the wholeness and perfection more than we know. We need to just get out of our own way and let the genius that we are, let the brilliance that we are enter, filter through the stuff that's going on in our heads and finally make it to our ears so that we can snap out of it, right? Snap up. So, we want to reinvest, and I'd like us to say these affirmations together. My life is abundant. My life is overflowing with goodness. I am rich. I am fully open to explore my infinite possibilities.